Make sure to always lock your doors. 23-year-old guy here. I live in a pretty safe neighborhood and, usually, always lock my doors. Last night I apparently didn't. It was not too long after I had taken my dogs out for the last time and was turning off the TV and lights when one of my dogs started growling. Not too weird since he sometimes does that when people walk by the house. He only does it to certain people, not everyone. I then heard the front door open and someone walk in. My dog then started barking. My other dog, who loves all people, came running from the other room to greet our guest. At the same time I was reacting to what was happening and went, what the fuck? Who are you? Standing in the hall was a guy in his mid to late 20s. He was skinny and tall. Oh wait. I don't think I'm in the right place. He genuinely seemed confused. I replied with, hell no you aren't. Please get out. He apologized and said he was coming to hang out with a friend and just have accidentally went to the wrong place. I asked him what house he was looking for and he said a number that was just a few couple number off from mine. He apologized again and left. He seemed nice and non-threatening, but I was still kind of spooked. This morning I was ready to laugh the whole thing off. I was planning on telling my neighbor, a couple in their 30s, what happened. I don't know them all too well, but we have talked before. Luckily I caught with one of them when I was taking my dogs out. I didn't want to come off like I was mad or scared over what happened, so I casually said, I'm sure he told you about it, but your friend paid me a surprise visit last night. My neighbor gave me this confused look and said, what are you talking about? Your friend. He walked into my house last night thinking it was your place. My neighbor was quiet for a second and then said, I don't want to alarm you, but I have no idea what you're talking about. We didn't have a friend over last night. I brought my two sons rape whistles to wear and today they actually used it to alert me in a very alarming situation. So my stepsons are 7 and 10. They play with 5 other boys in our area which are of similar age and all go to the same school in our neighborhood. Now there is a police station in our neighborhood and we live in a city that is large, but we feel very safe here and have almost zero crime around us, so when they want to go to the park / play with friends, husband and I agreed it's okay. They will be gone for hours going from house to house swimming, jumping on trampoline, scootering, skateboarding. Sometimes they are all at my house in my pool. It's a good system. I am in texting with other parents etc., so we have a pretty safe system. However, our state has been known for human trafficking because we are close enough to the border. It's just something I worry about. So I bought them bright orange rape whistles and tied them to their backpacks. Sometimes they all ride bikes to the school together. At home I had them each blow into the whistle as hard as they could so they knew how loud it was and to only use it for emergencies, which we've discussed emergency situations. Today, on break from school, the kids wanted to do a lemonade stand. Something in my gut told me to say no, that's not a good idea, even though they had their own little garage sale around Christmas to make money to buy gifts and the neighborhood thought it was so cute they actually got a ton of donations and made very good money. I didn't have any worries that time. Today was different for me though. As my older stepson was making his signs, I reminded him about interacting with strangers and he needs to watch his brother, and so he asks me, should I bring my whistle? I said yes. Great idea. I took it off his backpack and put it around his neck and I told him I'm going to leave the window open. If you feel scared or if something happens, you blow that whistle like there is no tomorrow and I'll run outside. They were right on our street corner of our neighborhood, right where the main street through our neighborhood is, so a decent amount of cars go by. An hour or so goes by and I'm into a documentary when I hear that fucking whistle and my stomach drops and I dash outside to see a flashy red car, like a Charger I believe. I was looking / running towards the kids and so I wasn't paying close enough attention to the car, but I immediately see all kids are accounted for as guy is getting back into his car and my older son tells me, our younger son, who really likes cars as does his dad, he goes to car shows and knows so much about cars, husband has a GTR from Japan and another racing type car they work on together, that the man in the car got out and was talking to them asking them their ages and invited my younger son to get into his car. I literally told my older son earlier, do not get into or near anyone's cars. So he said he didn't feel safe anymore and blew that whistle as hard as he could. My son said the car was what's known as a demon, which I believe is a Dodge Charger, red. That's what my son told the police. I got a good look at the guy at least but didn't get the plates. He was getting into his car as I was making sure the kids were accounted for and pounded the fuck out of his hood asking him, why would you ever invite a child into your car? Before he drove away. I wasn't thinking clearly and was in a bit of a panic. So I didn't get the plates. I was right there. I'm so pissed at myself for that. But the kids were all talking and I just went into protective mode and called the police. The police said they searched our entire neighborhood for the car and put out a description of the guy in car with a now a possibly dented hood from me, and they put out an alert and are taking this very seriously, so at least there is that. I'm so thankful for that $10 whistle I ordered on Amazon. Sometimes you just know when shit is about to go down. Still so shaken up about it and all of the kids and parents are super concerned. We have a community website and we posted about our encounter on the website for other parents to be aware as well. I don't know for certain that the guy was up to no good, but if he wasn't, why leave so suddenly, you know? I do know my view on safety has been wrecked and it's going to take a while for things to feel okay again, I think. Make sure your kids have a plan for emergencies. They have intuitions also and there is just something about that gut feeling you shouldn't ignore. It amazes me sometimes. I think your daughter may have been drugged. When I, female, was in the 7th grade, 12 years old, I would experience nausea, vomiting, and extreme sleepiness after spending the night at the house of this particular friend. Let's call her Erin. This friend, also female, lived with her parents and her brother, who was 5 years older than us. After about 5 to 6 times experiencing these symptoms, my mom apparently noticed a pattern and sat me down to ask if I was drinking alcohol at Erin's. I remember laughing at that question because I had never even tasted alcohol at that point in my life, but my mom's question was super serious. I told her no and I thought that Erin's multitude of rodent pets made me feel ill. This sounded suspicious to my mom, so she didn't let me spend the night at Erin's house anymore, but I was still allowed to spend the night at my other friends' houses. One night I was with a group of friends and we had movie night at Erin's house, then went to spend the night at my friend Sarah's house, where I had slept over many times without any problems. The next morning, I came home sick, nausea, vomiting, extreme sleepiness, and my mom took me to the doctor to get checked out. She told the doctor that she believed me when I said that I didn't drink alcohol, but, given my hangover symptoms, apparently the doctor was incredulous and ran a blood alcohol test on me, which came back at 0. Surprise, surprise. He said that they could test my blood for GHB/rohypnol, but if I ingested the substance, it would no longer be detectable in the blood. Given the circumstances, he informed my mother that I was likely drugged at Aaron's house, since that is the only commonality preceding my symptoms. There wasn't enough evidence to show who drugged me and/or press any charges, so my mom just banned me from Aaron's house. I stopped going to Aaron's house completely and I have not experienced these symptoms since. After about 2 months of not going to Aaron's house, her older brother messaged me on FB and asked why I never came around anymore. He told me that he recorded some things on his DVR that I would like, so I should come over to watch them. I didn't know what to say, so I deleted FB. I never told my parents about that message, but in hindsight, Aaron's older brother was likely preying on me. My crazy friend ended up becoming a murderer, so today has been a particularly slow day at work, and I've been killing time reading these stories. Maybe enough time has passed and I can share mine. I had this friend who was really into the occult. Unfortunately, I was the one who got him turned on to it. We had a mutual appreciation of the paranormal and all things weird, so I thought the subject would interest him. He started going deep into the subject to the point where he wouldn't talk about anything else. He would actually interrupt a conversation and force the subject back to occult matters. Rude, but sometimes people go through phases where their interest is all they want to talk about. It was a mostly forgivable offense. I think I should mention that this particular friend didn't have a very large friend circle. His depression and introverted nature kept him inside a lot. He didn't have the best luck in relationships with women. His world was kind of small, and I did enjoy hanging out with him, so I did my best to be a good friend. I didn't want to just brush him off because he was acting a little weirder than normal. Honestly, for the longest time he was a totally normal guy. We'd chat and play games together on the PlayStation. Sometimes we'd go see movies, with my boyfriend accompanying us. We all hung out at the park, we went swimming, overall we had a good time hanging out. Things started to go downhill when he started to smoke DMT. Personally, I think psychedelics are amazing tools that can offer insight into your life, but they should be treated with respect. My friend got to the point where he was making it himself, apparently a pretty easy thing to do after a meager amount of research, and he was smoking it daily, multiple times a day. For those of you who aren't familiar with the substance, when you smoke it, you get transported to a different world. An entirely new plane of existence. Your body and yourself don't exist anymore. You're just exploring this alternate reality dreamscape. My personal experience with it led me to seeing a dragon once in this kaleidoscope of a cornucopia. People see all kinds of different things there. Imagine what that does to a person when they're smoking it 30 plus times in a day. He started telling me things like he was the reincarnated Osiris. He said he was seeing Egyptian hieroglyphs all over the place in waking life. Apparently he had hour-long conversations with entities in his bedroom even when he wasn't smoking DMT. Of course I was very alarmed to hear all of this and I told him he needed to take a serious break. No drugs at all for a few months so he can find solid footing in reality again. At this point I was still hanging out with him because he obviously needed some help, and like I said before, he didn't have a lot of friends that could give him that. He was also the black sheep of the family, so I knew he wasn't getting any kind of support from them. He was really close to his sister, and I did reach out to her on Facebook to express my concerns. I pushed her to talk him into getting some psychiatric help, because he was slipping past the point of no return. I'm not really sure if she took my messages seriously since we didn't really know each other. Plus she is at least 6 years younger than us and possibly didn't grasp how serious the situation was becoming. In any case, I'll jump forward now to the part where things start to get really creepy. My boyfriend had made arrangements to hang out with our friend at the park. I didn't really want to go because I felt like I needed a break from him and his nonsensical ranting. I just couldn't deal with it on that particular day. My boyfriend said he wasn't all that bad and we went anyway. We get to the park and he is his usual self, ranting about Egypt and made-up gods that only he knew the truth about, etc. He also had this large hunting knife that he kept fiddling with the whole time we were on a walk. He told us that he had been using it in ceremonial magic, and that it helped to banish negative thoughts. It made me extremely uneasy. He would do this thing where he would take the knife and make stabbing motions near his heart or head, like he was mock-stabbing himself, all while holding a conversation with me or my boyfriend. I think we were both really on edge and didn't know what to say or do about it. I tried to distract him from doing it by bringing up other subjects that might interest him, but he kept on with his ritual. Keep in mind we were walking on a trail, so it wasn't like we could just say goodbye then and there. We had to walk back to our car and drop him off at his car. My boyfriend had the bright idea that we should get some lunch after our walk, even though I was doing my best to give him a look that said, "No, you crazy fuck, why do you think I want to spend any more time with this nut?" But it must not have been very effective, or my boyfriend was ignoring it. Not sure. Either way, we ended up getting in the car to go get lunch. In the car I was driving, my boyfriend was in the passenger seat, and our weirdo friend was in the back. As we're heading through a busy part of town where all the shopping and restaurants are, I hear the distinctive sound of a belt buckle coming undone. Then I hear the worst sound imaginable. I peek back out of the corner of my eye and my suspicions were confirmed. This crazy fucker was full on jacking off in our backseat. I mean, pants all the way down, bare ass on the seat. Beating it so hard it was like he wanted to rip it off. Instantly I felt sick to my stomach and all the nervous energy I had throughout the day popped up into my head. I was trying not to shake, and trying to ignore it and drive through heavy traffic. I kind of had a freeze response, I guess. The whole time I kept thinking about that huge ass knife he had in his pocket, and obviously he was completely off his rocker now. I was afraid to say anything or confront him because I didn't know how he was going to react. This part is nuts, but my boyfriend didn't fucking seem to notice, and the whole time he kept rambling on about God knows what. I couldn't listen because my thoughts were 100% focused on driving and trying to act like I didn't know what was going on in my backseat. We get to the restaurant and my boyfriend runs inside to grab food. I'm left alone in the car with our friend and I try to act like I'm browsing on my phone, when really I'm watching and listening as hard as I can. We don't talk. My boyfriend gets back and I complain that I'm tired, it's been a long day, let's drop him off, etc. So I drive us back to our friend's car, and he doesn't get out of our vehicle. He just sits there. I have to get a little bit rude and ask him to please get out and go home. He gets out of our car and walks over to his passenger side. I start getting really scared and I suspected the worst. He pulled a gun out of some kind of bag he had on the seat, and he just walks over to our car with it. I don't know why the fuck I did this, but I was so pissed I just got out of my car and walked right up to him. I was maybe 3 feet away and could see it was a loaded 9mm. I kept asking him over and over, "What are you doing?" Because apparently that's all my brain could think to do. I told him to get in his car and go home. He never said anything during this whole time. Just kind of cried and had this wild look in his eye. For whatever reason he got back into his car and drove off. I told my boyfriend obviously we are never hanging out with him again and that I didn't even want him to talk to him anymore. No contact, nada. A few months pass and he occasionally messages me through the PlayStation or texts my phone. He says a lot of random stuff and I just ignore it. It turns out he moved down to TN near Nashville. I don't know why. He had a roommate and I think their girlfriend lived there. I'm not really sure about the situation. I think maybe he's turning his life around and getting a fresh start down there. I think it's best to cut all contact and let him regroup. I'm not interested in any kind of friendship with him and I know he needed help beyond what I could offer. Again, I reached out to his sister and let her know that he had a gun. She managed to get it from him somehow, but it did little good in the end. I get a call around 11 p.m. one night that wakes me up. It's a man claiming he's a detective down in Gallatin, Tennessee, and my heart skips a beat. I start sweating and immediately ask what happened. Apparently my former friend stabbed someone to death on Halloween Day. I don't know all the details, and the articles about it are kind of sparse. The whole thing is really surreal and I'm just left feeling like I'm lucky that I didn't get shot last summer. This whole thing turned out way longer than I meant it to be, but that's the story. I'm still feeling creeped out by the whole ordeal, and I'm kind of feeling sick after writing all of this.